You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Thank you so much for joining me here today. We had a lot of fun yesterday on our first house call of the weekend, where we answered probably somewhere around 8 questions, maybe 9 questions. They were amazing questions coming in on what's the best time of the day to take vitamin D. We talked about retina-based issues in the eye-based health. We talked about low hormones in young people, 20-year-olds. We talked about osteoporosis in young people as well, how to reverse and stop that. We talked about eczema. We talked about, looking through my little list here as well, no change in appetite. We talked about dull pain in the stomach or rib cage area. And we talked about overall stress, brain-based injuries, concussions. A lot of great questions were answered yesterday, and today is going to be no different. So what I'd like to do is get right into the questions, but as always, each and every weekend we answer our community's questions. These come in on everything wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging. This is where we help people, like I said, take that first step, learn which lab they should run, why they're not getting results, what they're currently doing, whatever it is, you name it, we're going to help to the best of my ability. And if you don't want to wait about 4 to 5 weeks now for me to answer your question, I would like you to go to cabralsupportgroup.com and ask your question right inside of our Facebook group. Our team of amazing health coaches is there to help, and we look forward to being able to answer those questions for you there. I do jump in a couple times a week. I love looking at the success stories, so cabralsupportgroup.com is also the place to post your success stories. I look at every single one. I comment on every single one. I'm never, I don't know what the best way is, short of being amazed by all the different success stories from all walks of life, whether people are trying to gain weight, lose weight, overcome digestive issues, you name it. And we're there to provide support as well. So great group, really happy to be a part of that. And that's the truth. So let's get into the first question today. Let's help some people on their way to better health, better body transformation, and really living the life that they want. So Courtney's up first. Courtney writes in, "Hi, my name's Courtney. Just wondering if there was any other detoxes you would recommend. I'm having a problem with bloating, and I would love to do more of the detox, and I just cannot afford it anytime soon. Are there any cheaper brands that you can help me with? Would really appreciate any suggestions. Thank you guys so much for all your help and hard work." Courtney, this is going to sound like a biased answer. We do a functional medicine detox for $99. We do it for less expensive than anyone else. The detox that I used to recommend to people was half the potency, and it cost $149 for 7 days. There is no way to make this product less expensive. And the reason I say that from a truthful position is now I manufacture it, so I can tell you that for sure. There are a lot of other companies, and they all cost anywhere from $150 to $200 for a fairly comparable product. Of course, you're always welcome to do those if you feel it's a better fit for you. And I'm all for that, because everyone needs to be doing at least seasonal detoxes. That's once every 12 weeks to get rid of all of the cancer-causing man-made chemicals in the environment. Why can I feel confident recommending this to you? It's because if you just go to drcabraldetox.com, okay, it's just drcabraldetox.com. Okay, I can spell. There we go. I actually thought I was going to spell that incorrectly. At the bottom of the page, it actually shows you. I literally break it down why you will spend less money than you typically do for a week's worth of food while doing the detox. So very simply put, all of your meals are covered for days 1 and 2 because you're doing 4 shakes a day for the first 2 days. And then all of your breakfasts for the week are covered, so you don't need to spend any money for your breakfast. All of your mid-afternoon snacks are covered, so you don't need to spend any money for your mid-afternoon snacks. And we basically teach you with our guide of how to create lunches for like $3, like literally, just using a couple cups of vegetables, a single protein, and then some healthy fat. It's just really, really easy. So for $99 for 7 days, I don't even know what that breaks down to because I can't do math at the same time. Let me just make up a number and say it's something like $13 or $14. What you're doing though is, again, you're not paying for food for all of your breakfast, all your mid-afternoon snacks, and nothing for 2 days of the week. So, again, I try to justify it for people. I literally put it in there for that reason. The reason is that I know it's an upfront cost, so you're paying it for the week, but I want people to do this. I made it less expensive. I made it a better product and less expensive than anything else out there, because if someone can do one thing, I always say that if you can't afford a lab test, you can't afford like all the different protocols. I understand a functional medicine is not inexpensive. I'm not going to say that. I had to do this myself when I was younger, so I totally understand it. It definitely extended my family with being able to run a lot of these labs when I had to do something like a stool lab when I was younger, and I had to do the adrenal hormone lab. So like, I get it. Those were pay out of pocket. And then supplements, like I basically worked in college to pay for my supplements. That's the truth. I don't expect everyone to do that. I'm not saying that, like I'm better or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all. It's just, that's where I was. I just wanted to get myself well. So essentially it just comes down to whatever you think the value is there. If you feel the value is there, then I hope that it serves you well. Okay. So Maya's up next. Maya's writing in. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I love your podcast and value your opinion and expertise very much. I was wondering what your thoughts are on gluten. Is it good or bad or our gut health? For our gut health, I'm assuming that we'll say. I've read so many conflicting studies and articles, and I just don't know what to believe. I would love to know your thoughts. Thank you so much for all you do. Okay, Maya, great question. I've answered this before in a podcast, but let me give you the summary, okay? The summary is this, is that the gluten that we have in the United States is really a hybridized gluten that is much sweeter and much stickier than it was in the past, meaning hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Why is that? Well, the gluten that we have right now is much better for making processed foods. And so that's why it's been hybridized like that, meaning like it's better for breads, it's better for pastries, it's better for gumming things up, like making it a nice pastry, like delicious pastry, right? But it's also why a lot of people, when they go over to Europe, they don't have the same issues. The wheat is a little bit different. Like maybe they're using an ancient spelt over there, right? So spelt is different than wheat. So really we're talking about the level of gluten has actually been going back and forth over the years, depending on how they've been hybridizing the wheat. I'm going to talk about all of that today. But what else can gluten do? Well, gluten we know is inflammatory. So there's no doubt about that. So is it good for you? No, it's not good for you, because there's no way to make gluten non-inflammatory. It's an inflammatory food. Now, here's the issue though. The other thing with gluten is that typically it's a sprayed crop, which means that it's being doused with pesticide. So if you're not really getting an organic version, you're getting a sprayed crop, which contains glyphosate. And glyphosate is essentially bug spray. And that bug spray is going to wipe out a lot of the good bacteria in your gut. This is what nobody talks about. Nobody talks about this at all. I've mentioned in other podcasts when I've been interviewed and asked about it. And then the other thing that it does is it starts to allow for more bad bacterial overgrowth in the gut. So it creates inflammation, it creates villi atrophy, which means it destroys some of the villi, which help you to absorb more nutrients. And it causes inflammatory-based reactions. And again, this is from a clinical perspective. I lab test everyone, obviously, in my practice, because I want to get to the bottom of what's going on with them. And gluten, in my practice, is the number 3 food sensitivity test when I run a food sensitivity test. I will link up the food sensitivity test in the show notes today. Just go to stephencabral.com/800. Today's episode 800. Wow. All right. 800. Go to stephencabral.com/800 for today's show notes, and I'll link up all the labs in there. So can I recommend gluten? No, I cannot. It's the number 3 food sensitivity on when I lab test it from an IgG perspective, which means when you eat gluten. So like, let's take myself, for example. I could eat an entire loaf of bread and a bowl of pasta. And pretty much I do for my cheat meal. And maybe not a whole loaf of bread, but I have a couple pieces of bread and I have my big bowl of pasta. That's my cheat meal. And I love it. And I feel no ill effects. I feel fantastic. I don't get a stomach ache. I don't get brain fog. I don't get anything. But it's an IgG sensitivity for me, which means what? Well, a couple days later, not that day, so I feel no immediate effects. This is the problem with most people. They don't feel immediate effects, so like gluten doesn't affect me. Well, it creates an inflammatory reaction in my body 24 to 72 hours later, so that much. So what does that mean? Well, if I continue to eat gluten, it builds up inflammation in my body. Then all of a sudden, my joints start to hurt, namely my thumbs, and I start to get more congested, and I start to feel more run down. So just keep in mind, there's differences in sensitivities. You can get so simply eat gluten, eat dairy, eat eggs, eat a bunch of different things, and then run a food sensitivity test to see if you're sensitive. But in general, it's certainly not a health food. All right, hopefully that answers your question. Amelia is up next. Dr. Cabral, I need your help. I found you through the Elite Man podcast. My significant other listens to you. I love your podcast, and I see a naturopathic doctor where I live. My health has been in a really bad place for the past 2 years. The last time I went to my PCP for chronic chest pain, and she told me it was my stomach. I tested for H. pylori. I did a 2-week regimen of antibiotics twice a day and ulcer preventative. Went back to get tested again. It was negative. About a week later, I woke up with the worst stomach ache of my life. Chest was burning, went back. They put me on a PPI. I took it every day for 10 months, knowing I didn't want to be on the medicine. Tried coming off several times over the 10 months. My PCP had no intention of helping me get off the meds and actually increase my dosage after 6 months. She diagnosed me with a globus sensation and ordered me to get scoped by a GI. I really scared. I have been suffering panic attacks during the whole process. PCP went prescription. I'm just trying to read this. This is a long question, so I just want to save everybody's time. But you can read this by going to stephencabral.com/800. My throat felt strained. It was hard to swallow. I lost 7 pounds in 5 weeks. My naturopath put me on zinc carnosine. But since December, she not only did aromatherapy and ordered blood tests, suspicious of leaky gut. My stomach doesn't hurt. I pass normal bowel movements that are very clean. My lymph nodes under my chin are constantly swollen. My extremities tingle. I'm always fatigued. My heartbeat accelerates from walking, so I haven't been able to work out for a couple months. I feel hopeless, lost, desperate. I'm a mother to 4 beautiful children, and I can barely get through my days for myself. All I drink is tea, water, and fresh juices. I live off fruits, vegetables, and grains. I don't understand why I'm not healthy. I'm 28 years old. Please help. All right. Amelia, I feel horrible for you. This is terrible. This is terrible, but we can help. That's the good news. So the problem was your PCP should have retested you for H. pylori once the chest pain came back. Because H. pylori, it doesn't always go away. So what you do is you knock it down, you can test for it, you don't find it, you get the symptoms again, you test for it, it's there again. Okay, H. pylori is a challenging thing to keep at bay. You can knock it out. Sometimes 2 weeks of antibiotics is not enough. We do an H. pylori regimen in addition to our CBO protocol. That's what I'm recommending for you. Okay, I would run an organic acids test that will tell you about the leaky gut. I would run a stool test. So this is what I would, if I was in your position, this is exactly what I would do. I would run, if you can do 2 labs, it would be the organic acids test and the stool test. And then I would do most likely a thyroid adrenal hormone. I know that might be out of I don't know what your financial situation is, so I don't want to say that or not, but maybe you can't do all 3. I would do the first 2. With the first 2, you'll get my specific recommendations. If you just say, you know what, I can't afford the labs, I just want to go for it, well, then I would do what's called an H. pylori regimen on top of the candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol, all right? I would repair your gut. I would get rid of that H. pylori, which I've talked about before, using the higher dosage of mastic gum, using the maximum GSE, not regular GSE, maximum GSE citricidal drops, as well as the colloidal silver. That's in addition to the regular CBO protocol. That helps people. We lab test before, we leave lab test after. We know that it works. And then by going through the CBO protocol, you'll finish by sealing up your gut. That's going to then allow you to better absorb your nutrients. The problem is, most likely with the accelerated heart rate or the inability to work out or anything like that, by being on a proton pump inhibitor, an acid reducer for that long, you most likely weren't able to absorb calcium, magnesium. That's going to affect your heart. It's going to cause arrhythmia. So I would just wish that medical doctors knew this, and specialists as well. I don't understand why they don't. This is not advanced biochemistry. It's just not taught in school. So I understand it's not their fault. I'm not blaming any particular MD. And if anything, they have amazing knowledge, and I'm very, very happy that we do have them. I just wish that they would do something else besides prescribing drugs, because prescribing drugs is what got you into the situation in the first place. If you never took the PPI, you wouldn't be in this position in the first place, because you would have been forced to deal with your actual health issues at hand. So I agree with your naturopath. Zinc carnosine is fantastic, helping to rebuild the mucosal base layer. But what about getting rid of the pathogenic overgrowth, whether it's H. pylori, coli, Clostridium difficile, which you could have gotten from the antibiotics? Like maybe you got rid of the H. pylori, but by taking the antibiotics, you ended up with Clostridium difficile. That happens all the time. That happens all the time. So run the stool test, run the organic acids test. Let's get you better, all right? Let's get you better. So Sean is up next. I've been dealing with chronic yeast infections for over 8 years. I've tried to get rid of them myself many times, and I've broken down and taken fungal medications, only for it to return within 2 months. I've been diagnosed with seborrheic dermatitis, which is frustrating by itself. I heard your podcast on 725 on candida overgrowth, and I love it. I'm hoping I'll be able to finally get rid of the yeast problems I've been dealing with and feel normal again. Can I go ahead and order the protocol without getting the organic acids test? All right, you can actually look up, I'm not going to mispronounce it again. I really can't pronounce it. Every single time I see this word, it's one of those things that I've actually been to conferences and people say the same thing. They get stuck in a word that they just can't say. So seborrheic dermatitis. That is hilarious that I cannot say that. So anyway, I'm not going to edit that out either. I want you to hear me mispronouncing these words, which I find hilarious. So yes, you can actually go ahead and do the Candida and bacterial overgrowth with the Heal and Seal. And I would most likely like you to add the maximum GSE drops with that. And you'll do 3 drops twice a day upon waking in before bed the first week, and then 4 drops the second week, and then 5 drops the third week. That's in addition to our Candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol. And that's just in case you have other types of bacterial overgrowth that you might not be testing for. So that's what I would do. Obviously, it's great to run the organic acids test, but if you don't feel comfortable, you can do that. And then just letting you know for the topical issues as well, you can use some diluted maximum GSE drops or the tea tree oil as well. I've done a whole podcast. I did I shouldn't say a whole podcast. I've actually answered this question before on a house call. So feel free to type in your keyword that I can't pronounce, and you can put that right into stephencabral.com/podcast. All right. That was a fun one. Okay, Christina's up next. Dear Dr. Cabral, I live in Germany and I'm a really big fan of yours. I listen to your podcast religiously. On episode 730, you answered a question that one-to-one translates to my situation. I was on a detox diet for 4 months and I haven't had a migraine ever since. I used to have them every week. My ND had me test everything except for adrenal hormones. During the diet, I developed skin and dry eye symptoms and it hasn't gotten better. I looked up fat absorption issues and I definitely have those, so I'm going to get an enzyme. If I do have adrenal fatigue, what would I need to do to get better? Thanks a million. Okay, it's a hard one for me to answer without a lab test because there's all sorts of different types of adrenal fatigue. There really is. It's meaning like, okay, if you're not absorbing nutrients because of gut issues, well, that can lead to adrenal fatigue because you don't have enough minerals and vitamins in your body, B vitamins and magnesium and sodium and potassium and all those things that get absorbed, like someone that's been on a proton pump inhibitor, right? PPI, or an acid reducer. All right, they're going to have issues as well. Then there's mitochondrial-based issues because you had a virus or you took antibiotics or you got Lyme disease and then took antibiotics. Then there's adrenal fatigue because of emotional-based stress, right? So you're actually firing up that HPA axis and you are actually burning out your norepinephrine, usually not your norepinephrine, but you're burning out your cortisol levels, your glucocorticoids. So you have to look at that lab for specific recommendations. So I can't give you specific recommendations. I don't think that would be ethical of me. Because what if you're producing enough cortisol during the day, right? What if you are producing enough cortisol during the day? The problem is you're a little low just in the morning, or you're a little low just mid-afternoon, or all your hormones are low. That's a different story, right? Like you have low DHEA, low testosterone, low progesterone, and you have low cortisol. Well, totally different story. We need to really rejuvenate your body from a much, much deeper level. But what if you just have a little low cortisol, but your DHEA looks good, your testosterone looks good? Okay, well then we can give you a boost. So what I'm saying is, if you want specific issues, you do have to run that lab. I mean, you really do. I'd love to give you specific issues, but there's not one fix. It's like with sleep, right? Or constipation. There's not one thing. You can be constipated for lack of bulk or fiber in the diet. You can be constipated because of stress. So there's lack of peristaltic movement. Improper gut bacteria, meaning like an imbalance of the gut bacteria, the dysbiosis of the intestines. You can be dehydrated. Like there's so many reasons why you can be constipated. What about sleep? Okay, you could have high cortisol. You could have low melatonin. You could have a lack of neurotransmitters like serotonin. So, I mean, like fight or flight is still on, like so many different things, right? So what I'm saying is you can always figure it out. You just have to test. That's my recommendation. Sorry, Christina, but that is the answer. All right. And your naturopath should be able to run that saliva test for you. Okay. You want to run your diurnal rhythm with all your other hormones, like the one that we offer at stephencabral.com/store under the wellness tab. All right. Dan's up next. Thank you so much for all you do. You are truly changing the world. I'm a 27-year-old male and former collegiate wrestler. I have recently become hypothyroid and have extremely low testosterone. I've been working with a functional medicine doctor who had tested my blood for deficiencies related to thyroid, vitamin D, selenium, zinc, etc. I also had a CDSA 2.0 stool test, SIBO saliva test, food sensitivity test, and I'm still waiting for my adrenal results. Everything has come back completely normal except that I was slightly low in vitamin D. So I immediately began supplementing. I take a comprehensive multivitamin, fish oil, and curcumin. I've not done any type of home therapy yet and would really like to avoid it if possible. Hormone therapy, my apologies. That's my fault. I'm desperate to find the root cause. I'm not sure what to do next. Please help. Thank you so much. All right, Dan, this is unfortunately going to go back to a lot of what I just gave recommendation for Christina. All right. So if you run your hormone panel, we need to look at what your cortisol, DHEA, testosterone, progesterone look like. All right. So if cortisol levels are normal, but you have depleted DHEA, and we already know you have low testosterone, you have low progesterone, well, then this has been an ongoing stress-based issue. Okay, now your body is just using whatever it has left to keep your cortisol good enough. Okay, so there's that. Then if you already ran that, fantastic. You want to run a couple toxicity-based markers. All right, just go to our complete thyroid. All right, look at our complete thyroid test. Again, you can run this with your ND. You don't have to run it through us, but if you want my recommendations, you run it through us. If you want your ND's recommendations, you would run it through them, which is totally fine. It looks like you're doing a pretty good job overall. Here's the deal. You want to look at bromines, you want to look at cadmium, you want to look at arsenic, you want to look at mercury. If those are high, well, they're going to be blocking all that great selenium that you're putting into your body. They're going to be blocking iodine if you're taking it, and that's not a good thing, right? So our daily thyroid support is the nutritional supplement that I recommend. The vitamin D, make sure your levels are between 50 and 70. Do check for TPO antibodies. We want to make sure this isn't Hashimoto's. If it is Hashimoto's, run our complete thyroid and make sure that you run a food sensitivity test because we want to give you specific results on that. So remember, if it's Hashimoto's, totally different, and we need to work on immune-based balancing and we need to work on gut-based issues. That's how you're going to get better from that. Now, if it's hypothyroidism without the autoimmune, totally different, and we want to look at vitamin deficiencies, mineral deficiencies, and we want to look at toxicity. So we'll do a 21-day detox, but I would only do the first 2 days as the shake fasting days. The rest of the time, I would continue with days 3 through 21 with the shake with probably berries in it for you. And I would do the lunch, another smoothie in the afternoon, and then I would do dinner at night if there are toxicities. Or you can do a heavy metal detox. The heavy metal detox would be fine as well. So that's where I would get started, and that's how you will be able to come out of this, all right? You absolutely will be able to get the testosterone back up naturally, get your thyroid back up naturally, and really balance out the hormones. Because remember, they all work together. Your cortisol, your thyroid, or your adrenals, your thyroid, testosterone, they all work together. All right, let's get in one more question today. We're on a roll. Mary's up next and last. Hi, Dr. Wall. About 4 years ago, I underwent bariatric surgery. The procedure was successful, and I lost 180 pounds. I plateaued about a year and a half ago, and I maintained my weight at 180 pounds. As a result of the procedure, I have quite a bit of excess skin. I started looking into the process of plastic surgery to remove the skin. The procedure is costly, and doctors have advised me to be at a weight I'm happy with before going through it. I was wondering if there is a way to know what the ideal weight would be for myself. I always had a goal of being 160 to 150 pounds in mind, but assumed due to the excess weight to my skin, I may not be able to achieve that number unless it's removed. Is there a way to figure out what an ideal weight would be before I undergo plastic surgery? And if so, which one of the tests would you recommend running for me to jumpstart the process of trying to lose the weight I need to hit? I'm 30 years old, 5'7", 180. I would consider myself pretty active. I walk 4 miles a day. I strength train 3 times a week. Focus on cardio 2 days a week. I still monitor and mindful of my eating habits. Thank you in advance. Mary, this is a great question. I don't know if I've answered this before, so I'm looking forward to this question. So I think you're spot on. 150 to 160 pounds. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great weight, a healthy weight. I did a whole episode on BMI. Just go to stephencabral.com/podcasts and type in the search box BMI, just those 3 letters. And you'll see where a healthy weight is for a female 5'7". Okay. You can actually do your body fat as well, even with excess skin, because your skin will be less than 2 millimeters. So you'll be able to easily subtract that, of course, when you're using the body fat calipers. Okay. I agree that the excess skin is it's so tough to tell. Like, how could I give you exactly what that would be? But I couldn't discount it. It could be right around, maybe it is 7 pounds. So for you, between the 150 to 60 pounds. So maybe you get down to 150 to 160. You have the excess skin removal surgery if you feel it's appropriate for you. I'm not telling you to do it, but I'm saying if you feel it's appropriate for you, and that will probably take you right down to 150 pounds. Even if you lost safely another 10 pounds if you wanted to, I don't think the skin, losing 10 more pounds, I don't think the skin would be an issue at all. So I'm happy for you. I'm happy that you are down to 180 pounds, which is so much healthier. I can't wait to hear your success story of getting down another 20 pounds before doing the surgery. What else would I recommend? Well, for a test for this, if you're really looking for overall health, I recommend the organic acids test and hair tissue mineral analysis. That's what I call kind of my starter kit. Those are my 2 favorite. You get a nice little $100 discount by ordering them both together. Just go to stephencabral.com/store. Click on the wellness tab for that. And I'll tell you this, you're doing great. I would recommend the 21-day detox. 21-day Dr. Ball detox. You get a big discount on ordering the 21 days. I know, I honestly know that would be the jumpstart that you need. It would help with toxicity. It would help with inflammation. It would help with blood sugar. It would help balance the body. Even if you didn't do a lab, the Dr. Ball detox, the 21 days is so much less expensive. I'm telling you, do the 21-day detox, and I'll tell you why. I want to hear your success story. I think this is amazing. I'm really happy for you. I love hearing success stories, and I'm proud of you. So Keep it up. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into today's Cabral HouseCall, our second one of the weekend. Hopefully you tuned in yesterday. And as always, I appreciate each and every one of your listens. I appreciate every time that you share the show with others. And I absolutely enjoy reading your reviews that you leave on iTunes. Thank you so much. Much, much appreciated. And be sure to tune in tomorrow for our Mindset and Motivation Monday, where I will have rested my voice for the weekend and will be excited and ready to jump into that show. Take care, everyone.
Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.